Hi folks, just focusing on a quick story today because it's one of my own and these tend not to go on for too long when I'm doing them. First of all, if you like what I do, please head over to the Patreon, consider supporting me or becoming a member of the channel, or if you can't do any of that, just like and subscribe to the channel. It's free, helps me out immensely in the algorithm and things like that. Also, if you do become a Patreon or a member of the channel, you'll automatically be entered into the prize draw this month, where we will be drawing 2 prizes, each of £50 worth of free models from Composite games. So, fun stuff. So, I broached it to you guys last time, which story you wanted to hear. And most of the votes came in for the White Dwarf party. That is the birthday party that I stumbled upon when I was at Warhammer World once when I was a manager at GW. So, let's throw ourselves in here, shall we? And have a little look around. So essentially, this story takes place in my second visit to Warhammer World. I had a few days off from the store on annual leave, and decided to take my girlfriend at the time to HQ so she could see what I did for a living. Seeing it in the store is one thing. Seeing the madness and epic nature of Warhammer World is something completely different. I took her into the reception, the staff one, behind the gold Stormcast Eternal statue, not the public one, and her jaw dropped at the cabinets and general architecture of the place. She was from corporate London. She's from that kind of a background, so her being impressed was really something, you know, the next day. Anyway, I was in Nottingham the night before without her, so to do some gaming with other staff and a friend called Ryan who ran another store in the UK. He also got some time off so we could play our first game at Warhammer World together, essentially. So, Ryan was not much of a drinker, so I'd kind of adopted him as the designated driver. In return, I got the food whenever we went somewhere and half of the petrol. Everybody's a winner. So he worked in another store, not near me, but like not far away either. So we're kind of in the same range, you know. And we met at a retail workshop a few months before. No one was speaking to us, so we sort of like gravitated towards each other and started talking shit. So we head into Warhammer World, and in the gaming hall, we are told to play near the Twitch streaming area on the left-hand side. This is where the staff play, so the Warhammer store staff can keep the general public from bothering you. So when you walk into the main hall, the main gaming hall, if you look to the left, normally there's like cameras and things set up. Yeah, you play around that area, not on that table, but around the area if you're a staff. That's generally where all the bigwigs play. If you're anyone from the corporate side of things or store managers who are visiting or whatever, that's generally where they play, so that, you know, the staff members from the store can keep an eye out. And if people are coming over talking to you all the time, like say if they recognise you from a store or they recognise you from a live stream or YouTube or something, they can actually get them to leave you alone and go away. So, not that we don't like speaking to you, that's not the case at all. It's just that normally when guys are playing Game of Warhammer 40,000, you know how annoying it is when you get interrupted every 5 seconds for different things, right? So, I get absolutely decimated in this game by Ryan's surgical Eldar army in terms of sheer model count and kills, but the game ends 44-43 in his favour. An epic game all round, really. One, because his jet bike's got the line breaker rule, and you know they're really hard to bloody well catch, so you know, go figure. We have a few staff members come by, some folks from HR and other places who we've both spoken to on the phone before, but we've never put faces to names. GWHQ staff are generally nice like that, in general. They will go out of their way to collar you for a selfie or just say hello, most of the time. Especially if they're on into the social media kind of things for their departments. They'll want to see who they've been meeting and who's been coming in to say hello at Warhammer World and things like that. They are really nice. A few of them I'm still friends with on Facebook, so that's really nice that we keep in touch, and you know, they are very, very nice to me. Jill, hello if you're watching. She was like my Games Workshop mum, and like took care of me whenever I needed like a window fixing or something in the store. After the game, we watched the streaming game for a bit, and are actually on camera a few times. This is like in 2018, so it's not as if, you know, we're going to be on there, you're going to be able to find it, I suppose. I forget the game, but I'm not into Age of Sigmar, so I kind of tuned out and wanted a beer at this point. So we head to Bugman's, and lo and behold, the White Dwarf guys are in there after clocking off as it's someone's birthday. The birthday person in question was for a lady working for the magazine that both Ryan and myself had a massive crush on. Anyway, I know this story isn't going the way you think. Anyway, a few hours go past and we are invited into the group when they figure out that we are managers sitting on the next table over. The drinks begin flowing, and before long, 2 Blood Bowl pictures are produced as Blood, Fire and Death by Bathory is placed on the stereo. A choice of the birthday girl, apparently. Not that I could like her anymore. I will say no more about this lady, as it will sound creepy, but as a guy, I generally don't get flustered around women. I just don't, you know. The Hugh Grant thing doesn't work as often as you think it does. You know, being flustered and being shy really just doesn't work. With this girl, though, I was tripping over my tongue, even as we played Blood Bowl, and she caved my head in with her Black Orcs. To be fair, in our little tournament, I came 3rd out of 8, so I was pretty happy. I'm pretty pissed at this point. Then I checked the time. We were 7 pints in, and it was 11:30 PM. We'd missed our last tram into town. You know, as any of you know from Warhammer World, if you've gone back into town from Warhammer World, it's a pain in the arse if you miss the last tram. So, we looked a bit gutted, as you would, knowing now that we need to get a taxi back into the Airbnb in town. The White Dwarf crew, though, slapped us on the shoulders and adopted us, basically, like pets. And we end up hopping into a taxi altogether and into Nottingham Central. We end up in a place called Rock City, also known to Nottingham folks as The Rock, as it is there we stumble across a few other game designers and a rather nice bald chap who is drunk as a skunk. He tells me a story about writing for Games Workshop and how The Rock, the Fortress Monastery of the Dark Angels, is actually based on either a gay club in town known as The Rock in Nottingham or this very place, Rock City. How does he know that? Well, he helped write the Warhammer 40,000 edition where this became more canon. Forgive me, I was now 10 pints deep into a miasma of wargaming lore and tidbits, but yeah, this was Andy Chambers. And he dances like a praying mantis, you know, in general. We end up staggering back to our Airbnb around 4 AM, and I wake up the next day and wander into the kitchen of our Airbnb to do some coffee before I head back to pick my girlfriend up from the station. I hear a female groan behind me. It's birthday girl, laying upside down on the couch. All I can see are the soles of her bare feet, and I peer over to see she has tried to remove her garments before bed, failed, and given up halfway through. So like her top is like halfway off, and her arms are like a weird angle above her head. Coffee, I say, holding up the pot and shaking it around. Fuck off and die, she says, realising she has an assignment due for the magazine in 2 days, apparently. But these are just some of the times that you can have at a place like Games Workshop. There are certain people at the company who will generally go out of their way to adopt you. The Scottish managers are another group that is very like that, where they will go out of their way at a retail workshop to find the odd people, the people who aren't quite fitting in. Normally the people who are quite sound and nice, they will go and like pick them up and go, right, you are now drinking with us, you will sit down there, and we will get you your drinks for the rest of the evening on our tokens. So there you go. Who are you? Where'd you come from? Blah, 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 blah. There tends to be a very healthy rivalry, at least when I was there, around the London managers and the Scottish managers. The London managers tend to be very insular and very corporate bigwiggy, whereas the Scottish managers tended to be a lot more like, hey, you just come here and drink with us, have some whiskey, and you'll be fine. But yeah, going into Warhammer World, you got one or two experiences. You were either shunned and basically like left to your own devices, or you had days like me and Ryan had on that one day, where we generally were seen as nice guys, I suppose, and were kind of adopted by other people who made sure that we were okay. Just like any corporate structure, sometimes you get good people, sometimes you get bad people. It just is what it is. But that was one of my times at Games Workshop, going to a party at Warhammer World that was turned out to be quite fun. No horror story, just general nice people, pulling us in and making sure that we were having a good time in Nottingham. There were quite a few times where I missed the tram going home from Warhammer World, generally because you don't realise how tempting it is to keep drinking when you get 50% off at the bar. It's just, you know, it's one of those. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that. You have a choice for your next stories from my time at Games Workshop, and I'm very well aware that not all of these will be controversial. Not all of these will be, oh my god, that happened seriously. Not all of these will be, Games Workshop is the worst company ever and you should never buy from them again. Sometimes you have a really good time at a company, that just is what it is. But would you guys like to hear about next time? Number 1, being recognised in public as a Games Workshop manager, its ups and downs. Number 2, losing your faith in the hobby as a Games Workshop manager. Or number 3, a little story called Alariel Lives in Sheffield. Basically a story about how we met somebody in Sheffield who worked for Warhammer, who basically looked a bit like Alariel and, shall we say, drank like several dock workers all rolled into one. It was a very interesting evening that revolved around me jumping into a canal. But anyway, we'll get to that if you vote for it. So, put that in the comments down below. Love you all long time. Nice short one today. Have a really good day, and I'll speak to you tomorrow for some more Hobby Nightmares, where we should get a lot more interesting in terms of, shall we say, awkwardness. Love you all. See you tomorrow. Have a good one.